My name is Jennifer Graham, and I live in Lewiston. I own a home that is 70 feet away from Foster Park, where my daughter, her husband, and two of my granddaughters live. My daughter was one that heard the screams for Narcan during an OD at night and called 911. Due to the daily screaming of obscenities, fighting, loud music, snapping of the infamous bullwhip, excessive car horns and alarms, she can no longer leave her windows open for fresh air for her sanity and the safety of my grandchildren. According to a Clue News article written by Chris Mitchell on March 29th, City Attorney Suzanne Hansen states the decision of Foster Park, quote, "The parks, we don't have many of them, but the parks that we do have, of all of them, Foster Park was the one that was situated in the area that was going to be least impacted by nighttime residents," end quote. According to the Clarkston police records, public records, since January 1st, 23 through April 15th, 24, there have been at least 280 police calls to the park. These calls do not include the 3.5 months when Foster Park was closed. These 280 police calls include 4 overdoses, one resulting in a death in the bathroom, and the mention of fentanyl in 2 of them, urinating in public, threatening to kill, assault, weapon offenses, warrant arrest, alcohol and drugs, noise complaints, and animal problems, to name a few. When checking some of the named offenders, there were found to be at least 2 known child sex offenders among the vagrants and homeless occupying Foster Park. These police calls are by no means all of the complaints, as there are many that do not get called in. The community just puts up with it because they know their calls will result in no permanent solutions with the repeat offenders. Here are some of the local frustrations about park usage. I've received consent to use some of their names. My grandparents purchased this home in the 1940s. There have been 5 generations that have lived in this home, with all of them making family memories at Foster Park. It's very sad this last generation will have memories of an unsupervised homeless camp and all the crime associated with it right out their front door. Beverly and Ben Murray live right across from the park. They used to take their kids daily, but can no longer do that. They are subjected to verbal confrontations, not only by the vagrants and homeless as they move daily from the alley back to the park, but by their helper as well. We are about 2 blocks away, and we would frequently visit Foster Park. As the children got older, I felt comfortable allowing them to walk down by themselves. Unfortunately, that is no longer the case. I have many more stories of this type. Shame on all of you for designating Foster Park as a homeless pick camp where crime continues to run rampant. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Alexander, and I live here in Clarkston, within the city limits, and I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak. I came to Clarkston 21 years ago. I didn't have a place to live. I was traumatized by almost being murdered by my husband. I did not turn to drugs, and I did not blame everybody else for my problems. I had to get a job. I did. I had to have a place to live. I had to couch surf for 2 months. I got a place to live within 2 months. I got a job. It was not the city's job to find me a place to live or take care of me. We are not talking about the mentally and physically disabled and mentally ill. We are talking about probably 80% of the people in that park that are able-bodied and they can work if they want to. They don't want to. They want to buy drugs instead with every penny they get their hands on. No one at any time has forced them to abuse drugs. They are choosing to break the law. They are testing the citizens and the council, and they just don't care. They've gotten to the point that they just don't care. There's rooms you can rent for $500 a month, so you can manage on a minimum wage job, but you've got to work and you've got to want help. And the help is there. There is UGM. If we don't have it here, they've got it in Spokane. They've got it in Wenatchee. There's rehab centers. I've researched them. They're out there. At any point in time, they can call and say, do you have a bed today? Do you have one tomorrow? as far as the physically and mentally disabled, yeah, we do need to help take care of those, but they are very few in that park that are in that category. Most of them can work. I see them bicycling all over town. I see them walk. They can walk just fine. Their minds are just fine. It is not your responsibility or my responsibility to take care of them. It was not anyone's responsibility to take care of me when I came here, and it's not our job to take care of them. First, they have to take care of themselves. And those people need to be productive, and as long as somebody's giving them handouts, tents, dog food, and everything, why should they? Why should they? Thank you.
Okay, I'm Darian Kramer, and I've lived for about 20 years, owning my own property on 4th Street, and I want to have my say. First of all, I have questions too. Will Clarkston homeless be able to use the UGM building at Lewiston when it is finished? Can we build or even rent a building for those who want to better themselves with frequent urine tests, of course, to make sure that, you know, they are staying without drugs? The squatters are allowed to stay at the park, and the more they do, the more entitlement they feel that it is their park and not the taxpayers. With me owning property for 20 years, and I've owned property with my husband before that for years, I've always lived in Clarkston. Grew up here. I feel sorry for those who own property around the park, some witnessing things that young children should not hear or see. There's report of urinating in front of the windows, fights, drugs, language, etc. It's hurting our city. It's depreciating the property value. I was there last Saturday. I didn't see a homeless picking up anything except for the exception where I saw many dogs running loose. But there is a sign, or maybe more than one. But the one I saw said no dogs allowed in this park, and there's many dogs in there. One dog was doing his thing in the grass, and I said, "Look at that. You need to pick that up." Well, sheepishly, the person did pick it up. Well, I give him credit for that. At least he picked it up. But what do you have if I said nothing? You know, people have complained that they can't let their kids go in there to even play. Can't go barefoot because there might be needles. Who knows what? And I just, you know. Anyway, I witnessed last Saturday when I was in the park, I witnessed them smoking weed in the open. They were brass. They were bold. There was a snow shovel that I saw that was planted clear up in a tree. I mentioned it several times, saying, "Well, look at that shovel up there, up there." Well, before you know it, someone did take it down. Maybe they're embarrassed. I heard they use their EBT cards to barter for stuff, perhaps along with stolen merchandise and property. Would you appreciate living in a home you're buying with younger children across from the park? Would you like your mother, wife, or daughter to be grouped like the lady at the Blue Bridge was recently? Please don't turn a deaf ear to the people of the city whom you serve.
30 seconds.
And I thank all the police officers who have been involved in all of these things. Thank you for your service. And
I'm Melissa and I live in the county. You guys, most of you know me. I sat with you up there. I don't envy any of you right now. Because I know that right now I would be stuck in several positions.
we can't hear you.
I said I definitely don't envy them. Because it would be a tough decision to try to make. I was very disappointed with the case today at Grants Pass. It does not looking good. It's basically leaving it up to possibly the city, the states, but making you fall within guidelines that no resident is ever going to be happy with, no homeowner is ever going to be happy with, no homeless is ever going to be happy with. I have no answers, no solutions at this time. I do have a lot of questions. I've heard a lot of falsehoods that I have tried to call out, one of which was that one of the volunteers' daughter was raped. that hit me extremely hard as a sexual assault survivor. I was ready to go out there and go for blood. I was hot, and I admit it. I got crazy. Come to find out it was not her daughter, but there was some kind of incident. I don't know what it is yet. I will try to follow up on a report on that later. I do notice that there's a lot of dogs in the park, as everybody else does. When I lived in the city, I had to pay $25 a dog for licenses. And any above 4, I had to buy a kennel license. I obeyed all of that. I think that since they do have an income, they're not destitute, they're not without money, they can pay that. And I think if they're going to have their dogs in the city, they should pay that. I don't live in the city anymore, but as a resident, I had to. I also would like to ask if, when the new jail is built, if there's an option for the old jail to become a shelter. You don't have to answer that now. I also would like to know exactly what the expenditures of the city are with fire, EMS, garbage. You don't have to answer that now. These are just questions I'm throwing out there. I would also like to know if campers' stuff was put in storage when it was moved from Walmart, because part of the complaint stated that their stuff was thrown in the garbage. Some people said it was not. So I do kind of want a confirmation there, because that already checks off one box on the complaint if it was put in storage. Some people say rent them a building. You know, I fought hard sitting in those seats for EMS to stay in this city. It was a hard fight because we are not a rich city and our taxpayers have to pay for it. If people want that building rented, they're going to have to pay on a levy to do it, because the city cannot do it. I was on finance committee. I know we can't. So just keep that in mind. If you want it, be ready to pay for it. Also, in that complaint, it was saying that the park was not ADA compliant. I fought for ADA compliance in the park at Beachview. I won. We got wheelchair accessible swings, and they were tore up within 6 months.
30 seconds.
I just want to say also that these people that are helping, they need to spend their time and get a social work degree, go and study and figure out how to actually help these people further with experience and not just on a whim, because there is helping and there is enabling. Thank you.
My name is Samantha Weston, and my address is 427 Adams Lane, apartment 30, Lewiston, Idaho, 83501. So I have seen a lot on both sides, and quite frankly, I wouldn't want to be where city council is. I think every one of you are doing great, personally. I do not feel like this is going to get anywhere anytime soon, and honestly, I hurt for every single one of you up there. So the only reason that I even came up here, because normally I keep my mouth shut. I've only spoke one other time. I said this about 3 months ago. I'm going to say it again. If you're not part of a solution, you're part of the problem. Now, my daughter was accused of being raped outside of a park. That didn't happen. That was a lie. I shut that down real quick because it was a lie. She's 13 years old. Wasn't my kid. So volunteers or anybody that helps are targets. I have a big target on my back all the time. I do thank law enforcement, because a lot of those officers help me every single day. And if it wasn't for you guys doing your job, I would not feel safe in a really uncomfortable situation by houses that surround it, people walking through it. And to be honest with you, I am more scared of houses that surround it and people walking through it that don't know what's going on than I am anybody in that park. And I can honestly say that. And that's terrifying to me, because I know what a lot of those people that stay in the park and that come and go out of there that are homeless, it's scary. So anyway, I thank you for your time, and next time somebody accuses me or my child of something, they better know what they're talking about. Have a good night.
Just want to say that as far as the grant pass against the Supreme Court, I don't think it's been finalized either way yet.
It's not.
It might be a while.
It's not, but I listened to a lot of it, and it's not sounding good.
And then I know there is a committee formed that's looking for a place in Sultan County for the homeless, a designated area. And so there is a committee working on that. And as far as the old jailhouse being a place, it would be too much of a liability on the city to have it right there.
Why is that? You have officers
It's a
there.
liability that we'd have to do a whole bunch of remodeling, and we don't have the money to do that. It's an old building, and we wouldn't do that.
It's better than a tent in the
I'm
winter.
not gonna argue with you about it or talk about it, so.
But really, I mean, for the people who talk, I mean, we don't necessarily disagree with you about the issues with the park. We understand. But via the Ninth Circuit Court, the lady said it's not our responsibility, but via the Martin v. Boise decision from the Ninth Circuit Court, it is our responsibility. And we're held to it. And Clarkston is, one municipality that we are meeting our obligation by the law to not violate someone's civil rights and to do just what we're required to do by the law. So, we understand completely. We can see what's going on and we can see all sides, but it is our responsibility and obligation to do what we're doing. So until that changes, we have a responsibility, but we do have a group that is working to get something done, to actually progress into what is going to have to be the future of this issue. We have a nonprofit we're setting up, and we're gonna attack it and try to fix it. But that's not a fast process. That's not happening next week or next month, but it will happen. UGM is available once it is built and established to everybody, but it is a high barrier shelter, so the people have to meet a lot of requirements in order to take shelter at UGM. I mean, the way I understand it is the jail isn't really up to snuff to be in a jail right now. If it wasn't already an established jail, it couldn't even be used as that.
Right, I didn't mean like permanent, I just meant like warming.
And I don't think that could ever happen, and I'm not even really sure that's the responsibility.